you got to do something that you love. You got to do something that's right for you. Because if you're not passionate about it, someone who is going to end up beating your brains. Someone who's there working 80 hours a week, who loves it, who can't wait to get to the office in the morning because it's something that they love doing. They're going to do a better job than you at it at the end of the day.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we discuss the struggles and lessons learned along the way of the journey of a seven-figure entrepreneur. We're glad to have you back. Today it's my great privilege to welcome our guest, Tom Ryan with Bigley Sales. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, John?
Doing fantastic. Thank you again for your willingness to join us on our show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm a little worried with that sort of introduction.
No need to be.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Our pleasure. Those of you who are watching this, trust me, you got a real treat in store for you today to hear Tom and his story. So with that in mind, Tom, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, share with us your journey. Where did you start from? Where have you gotten to? Maybe share a few key lessons learned along the way.
Yeah, so I've been kind of running my own businesses for a while now. I started my last company while I was in grad school back in 2007, I think,
Wow.
which is a long time ago now. Doesn't feel that long ago. And launched that company. After a couple tough years kind of getting going, it ended up going from about, I think we did 20 grand in sales and 2010 to about 12 million in 2012.
Awesome.
So, and that was going great for a while there. And then started having some other issues in that business as well. And, after a few years, I had a split with my partner and a divorce going on at the same time, which wasn't the most fun thing. It was my double divorces.
Yikes.
So, couple lessons. Number one, be careful who you partner with. It doesn't matter what's on that contract. If they have bad intentions, they're going to try to get you at the end of the day, regardless of what's written on that sheet of paper. So, really, the character of who you're dealing with should really matter a lot. Their intention should matter a lot. If someone has bad intentions, it doesn't matter what the legal documentation is. Don't get into bed with them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
That would be a big one. I always hear these guys too, these VCs talking about partnering. Everyone should partner, and you got to be real careful if you're partnering, especially someone you don't know well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Nothing will kill a business like that split. So anyway, that's one lesson. And then I got out of that business. It was something my family was in, and honestly, my father was dying, and I'd grown up in that business. I'd learned that business from him. Now, it wasn't the business that he worked with, but he was kind of the one who taught me everything there. And
Gotcha.
I said, this isn't my journey. This isn't what I want to do. I wasn't passionate about it. It was pretty successful. Not a lot of companies grow to 8 figures in revenue, but it wasn't what I was passionate about. And I said, I want to do something that I love. I want to do something that I'm passionate about. I want to do something that's, for me. So he was sitting there dying, and I made the decision that day that I'm out of the staffing industry forever. And I'm going to do something that is, where my passion lies.
There you go.
So anyway, I made that decision. I think that's probably the most important decision. You got to do something that you love. You got to do something that's right for you. Because if you're not passionate about it, someone who is going to end up beating your brains. Someone who's there working 80 hours a week, who loves it, who can't wait to get to the office in the morning because it's something that they love doing. They're going to do a better job than you at it at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think that's the big reason why we never went past 8 figures, right? Because, the passion wasn't there. So, it was always like, yeah, I can do this. Maybe I can grow it and I can sell it. And I can do, how can I get the hell out of here? Right. The goal was always the exit, not the journey.
Gotcha.
So, you want to have something where you enjoy the journey,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, no,
and
I get that. Okay, so then what happened after that?
yeah, so I started Big League Sales. Now, I'd never really built a software company before. We built a lot of our own tools, so I had some experience. I'd learned the agile methodology. Anyone who's looking to build software, I would recommend the agile methodology. And if you're not familiar with the concept of minimum viable product, you should learn that concept right away. Build the smallest thing you can possibly do that can do it. If you think you need 3 feature sets, you don't. Get it down to 1 feature set. It's always a mistake going bigger to start, and things that you think will be important are just going to be totally and absolutely irrelevant. And you're building stuff that's going to get scrapped anyway, or no one is ever going to use because you don't know which direction the software is going to take once it actually goes live.
Yeah, yeah,
So that, I mean, minimum viable product is so important. And then an agile methodology, you break down a big project to digestible bites. What can I do today? What's going to be a project that, if I'm building something, it's like you're building a house. You don't put the roof on day one.
right,
You go step by step and you build it. So you say, okay, what's every step that I need to do here? And let me plan out at least the next couple of weeks. What needs to be done? And by the way, if there's a critical, very important thing that needs to happen for everything else to work, do that first, right? You try to tackle the hardest technical challenge first and make sure what you're trying to do is actually viable
right,
before spending 6 months building something or 3 months building something, spending a flood of time and money, and then realizing on the back end, hell, this wasn't going to work in the first place because we didn't solve this problem. And I kind of had my head in the sand like an ostrich. So you go the other direction. You always do the most technical, the hardest technical challenge first. You break everything down to short sprints, a day, a couple days, a week. And then even if you're not technical, now you can measure the people working for you. You can
love that.
measure and you can see if they're able to accomplish what they're supposed to accomplish within a few days.
Right,
And if they're not, they're probably not that great. And if they are, maybe you have a pretty good developer or engineer on your hand. But there's so many charlatans out there in the engineering space, in the U.S., overseas, wherever. It doesn't really matter the location. Um, that this, even as a non-technical person, now you have a way to manage them. And you can really apply this to almost anything you're doing. You can apply it to a marketing project. You can apply it to a website. You can apply it to a sales team. What did my guys do today? How many calls did they do today? How many people did they speak with today? What was the
right.
quality of those calls? How many meetings did we book? How many sales did we close? What was the value of those deals, right? You can use it for really anything to break down a big thing into smaller digestible pieces to know that you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and I love the intentionality about that. You're being extremely intentional about exactly what's going to happen one piece at a time rather than saying, okay, we got this whole big thing we got to do. Nope, nope, let's pay attention and
Yeah,
let's
it doesn't
intention.
work that way. Having done this, the first time I tried to build something, I'm like, here's what we need to do, and we met with the guy for a couple of hours and explained it, and he's like, oh, we'll be back in 3 months, and then you get it in 3 months, and it doesn't do anything that you need it to do.
Right,
Like, this isn't what we talked about. What the hell, man? And he goes, I think it works okay. And you're like, this doesn't work. I'm getting a 404 error here. This, nothing happens when I click this button. Like, what is this? This is garbage. So you go through and you make sure everything's moving in the right direction. Then if you figure out that there's problems every day with what you're doing that seem above and beyond what you would expect normally,
right.
probably cut that relationship sooner rather than later. Um, they're probably going to continue having problems would be
Yeah, yeah,
my
no,
advice.
love that.
So, and then there's a bunch of project management tools. So you can use Asana, you can use ClickUp, you can use Trello, you can use Pivotal Tracker. There's all these different project management tools that do this for you, which are
Which one do
really
you
pretty
prefer?
easy. They all work about the same for me.
Oh, okay.
So that's the thing. I passed that to my engineering team. I said, guys, what do you like working with?
There you go.
So we're working with ClickUp. but they all work pretty much the same. You can see the status, you can see where things are, you can move it to the next stage, you can mark it done, and
Love that.
then you have, here's what is coming up, and I can prioritize it, and I can say, okay, this is what I need to do next. This is the stuff that's absolutely most important. Or you can have someone on your team do the priority. You say, hey, this is what needs to be done. Do the, make sure that's the top priority. And then they make that the top priority. So you can always prioritize where everything needs to be. You can see it, you can track it. And what you find is stuff that's lower priority, you never get to, because
Right.
there's always something that becomes super high priority that as the business is growing and changing, you know, um, if you're doing software right, it means you're talking to your customers all the time. So if you talk to a customer and they say, hey, I need reporting, or I can't use this, or I need you to be able to integrate with my Salesforce system, right? That's the key. I mean, talk to the customers, right? See,
Yeah.
the people that are you're building the software for need to love it. And if they have hard requirements, like really hard requirements, like, you know, you got to build that stuff out. So there's and that really comes out when you're using it, when you're seeing them use the stuff
Yeah.
that you're building. Those just shine right to the top.
Perfect. No, love that. Love the
And especially if you're
intentionality.
hearing it from like 4 or 5 different guys. Like I heard this 5 times this week, which means you're talking to your customers a lot, which is probably a really good thing anyway.
Right.
Like, yeah, move that to the top.
Love that.
You know,
Love that idea and that intentionality around, hey, we're going to have a shifting in the priorities based upon the customer's needs always. So we make sure that we're focusing on those things that are, repeated the most or talked about the most, so that the forefront, so that we're tackling those and getting those out of the way. Love that. That's great.
yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been working. I've been building this piece of software, and I can tell you, I made every mistake in the book trying to build it. So we started out, and I said, well, why don't we do something that is entirely usage based with no minimums, and why don't we deal with very small businesses? And now we're having a high minimum threshold for spending. If we're going to be spending time with people, what we found out we were doing is we'd have someone who's going to spend $10 a month with us, and we were doing 5 hours a week of support work for them, right? So I'm paying someone whatever the amount of money is,
Right.
you know 10 times in excess of the revenue that we're getting in from that client, which isn't a great business model.
Yeah, it's not
um,
sustainable, right?
you know, so this doesn't make a lot of sense. Usually I pick up on things after a while. I'm very good at learning by getting kicked in the teeth. So I said, this doesn't make a lot of sense that they're going to give us $10 in revenue this month, and they're probably using $200 worth of support.
Right.
Um, so, and then we did everything usage based, where people will use it a little and then they'll disappear, and they'll use it a little and then they'll disappear, and there's no minimums and there's nothing kind of tying them to the product. So, and then we were going after small businesses, and none of them have two nickels to rub together. And
Right.
frankly, most of them that are small, they're doing things as kind of a lifestyle,
Yeah.
where they hold themselves in very high regard. They hold their personal abilities in very high regard, and they like to do things the way they like to do it. And it's probably why they're really small businesses. That they're onesie, 1-2 man shows, that they've done it the way that I've always done it, and I can do things the way I want, and I can decide when and not I want to work, and they're not really that interested in automating and growing most of the ones that I saw. Not all of them, but a lot of them were 1 or 2 man businesses for a reason, that they
Right.
wanted the flexibility. And so they were saying, hey, this can save you a lot of time and a lot of money, and yeah, they weren't really interested. Which I know sounds crazy, but they just weren't.
Right.
So anyway, make sure you talk to the customers and you understand what they want and what they don't. Um, and we ended up switching everything. So we ended up going from dealing with very small businesses to now we're targeting Fortune 500s. You know,
There you go.
we just signed a $60 billion company the other day. We have a couple more that we're expecting to sign, this quarter. A few more Fortune 500 companies. We signed a huge political campaign. So I mean, we're signing up
Fantastic.
people.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
congratulations. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I mean, been working really hard on this for a long time. So,
Good.
we went the totally other direction. Dealing with bigger companies have different things. There's more than one person that you need to talk to. You need to find the
Right.
right person in that organization. You need stakeholders to go to bat for you. You know, there's a lot of things to get those deals done. You usually end up working with one division of that and then moving into other divisions. Um, but I've been dealing with big companies my entire career. I've been, you know, we're my last company, we did a ton of business with Halliburton and L3 and the University of California and places
Oh
like
wow.
that. And those are all massive, massive
Yeah.
clients. So we always dealt with big businesses and 20 or 30 big hospitals. So anyway,
Great.
it's neither here nor there. But yeah, so, literally made every mistake that you could possibly make going about trying to market it. I
Right.
can get into those if you want to, but
No, no,
uh,
it's fascinating how much we learn from the things that we fail on, right? It's sometimes by doing it and then realizing that we didn't do it the right way that we learn the best lessons to go back and then get it right the second time or the third time, right? Sometimes it's even the fourth or fifth time. But then
yeah,
it's
with the
like, yep,
marketing
now it's
stuff, I
working.
wish it was the second or third time. I mean, second or third time sounds great with marketing.
Right. Right. No, but it's great because it gives us an opportunity to reflect and learn and go, oh, okay, great. Now I understand how this works. And I was heading the wrong direction. I need to pivot and I need to adjust. The intentionality around that's fantastic. I love your ability to just go like, yeah, that didn't work. I failed a couple times, but you know what? I figured it out. Um, I wish more people were like that. That they would not get themselves so bothered down by the fact that, oh, hey, that didn't work. I failed again. You're just like, oh, I failed. Oh, okay. Let's back to the drawing board. Let's figure it out. What
Yeah,
did we
and
learn from this?
I even think it's less than failing. I think it's more testing, right?
Oh, love it.
So, if you look at it as failure, it's really kind of a lousy way to think about this. I tried this thing and I failed. Now I'm a bad person, or I'm not very smart, or this thing. It's let's look at this at a bigger thing. You're a scientist, right?
Yeah.
The scientist doesn't do an experiment and say, I didn't get the result I wanted, I failed, and
Right.
it was a bad job. It was, we are testing something to see if it works. So
Oh, love that.
now you don't have to put a lot of ego on the line. You don't have to say, I know this is going to be right, and God, I'm staking my career on it, I'm staking my reputation. Right? You
Right.
don't have to get hyped up about it. You say, we're going to allocate a couple $100 and we're going to test, right? So this is the way we do ads. We'll put 10 ads out there on Facebook or on TikTok or on Google,
Right.
and we'll see which ones work. And then, we'll try to do a better job tracking it, right? What business came in from this ad? Are we getting the right people from this ad? So
Love it.
I can tell you a funny story.
Go for it.
We started advertising initially. I said, this product could be useful outside the US, could be useful inside the US. Maybe outside the US will be a great market for us,
Okay.
right? So we started advertising, and we started getting these people in, and all of a sudden, I'm getting thousands of signups a day.
Wow.
Great, right? No, they weren't paying yet,
Oh,
right? But they're signing up,
yeah.
And again, this is why we moved away from dealing with small businesses to big businesses. And the short version is we realized that Google was just sticking this on every possible avenue that someone could advertise on,
Oh,
and
wow.
we had just taken away so much friction in the sign up process that we were having like children in Africa sign up, and like
Oh,
just
no.
people all over the third world that didn't have businesses, and then we put a video chat like this on to see, like, well, let's talk to the users and let's see what's going on. And so all of a sudden we have like kids and like, so kids in African villages like waving at us on the chat, and I'm like,
You're like,
all right,
that's not going to work.
yeah, I'm like, they're probably not going to buy. We'll wave back, hi, right?
Right.
So, but I said, son of a, I think I spent $5,000 on marketing to, children in villages, in the third world, right?
Right.
Which, again, it's kind of funny, and again, we must have had 50 of them come on like the first day we turned on the video chat, and it was like, it wasn't like, half of the people weren't wearing shirts, like,
Right. Right. Typical to a third world country, right?
for wherever they were. I mean, it didn't matter. But I knew for sure they weren't going to buy.
Right.
So it was like, okay, every minute penny we just spent on this marketing where we thought it was working because we're getting all these signups was totally wasted.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, and then I mean, with Google, at some point we started saying, okay, let's target our market, and then we got a bot farm put on us by a competitor.
Right.
So the same thing started happening. All of a sudden, we're getting all these people coming to our website. No one's buying again. So what's going on? Why aren't they going to the next step? And then we started tracking back the usage, and we said, you know, there was more people coming to us from Ashburn, Virginia, and Moses Lake, Idaho, or Washington, wherever the hell it is, uh, than lived there, right? And then we figure out there's an Amazon data center there. And it's like, oh, we probably need security software if we're going to be doing a bunch
Gotcha.
of Google ads because there's, let's block anything on a VPN. Let's block anything that is coming from a data center. Let's, block any traffic from overseas. We had to do all of these things to actually make the advertising viable and work and not cost a
And
fortune.
and had you not done it that way to begin with, you wouldn't have known what you didn't know, right? Because at the
Well,
beginning, you didn't know that you needed all of that, but because of the way that it transpired, you're like, oh, yeah, we need to start doing this, and we need to
well,
do
we
this,
started looking at it and I said, why is our traffic up 10x, and our
right?
conversions have gone to zero, right? So, I kind of scratched my head a little and said, this doesn't look right to me, right? It looks like
Right.
something is off here. I don't know exactly what's off, but something, right?
Yeah.
So let's
Exactly.
see if we can figure this out. And then why are there so many people coming from Moses Lake? I've never heard of Moses Lake. Why do I have more people coming from Moses Lake than the state of New York or the state of Florida?
Yeah.
You know, this, and then, so it took a little while to figure out, but, we got there.
Awesome.
But yeah, all of this stuff, you're, there's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, John, help me out. Tell me how you can help. It's
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Well, Tom, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I hope everybody was listening. He had some great nuggets there. This intentionality of, hey, if you're going to get a partner, make sure you really understand who they are and you really understand their values and the kind of intentions that they have. That's going to really help you in the long run. Make sure that you're being intentional about taking the big picture scheme and breaking it down to bite-sized daily things that you can track and that you can make sure you're monitoring, staying on top of. And for heaven's sakes, take advantage of some of these opportunities to use these resources so that you can monitor this and keep track of it and utilize it, because why not? It's
and
out there.
I got to give you one more.
Go for it.
Use AI. I mean, not in our company. It doesn't matter if you use our company or not, but just start playing with it to see where you can take manual, repetitive processes that you're doing today and automate them. If you have 5 or 10 people doing a task that's manual and repetitive, you can probably have the AI do that for pennies on the dollar, faster, 24/7 with unlimited scale.
Awesome.
So you know, take a look. I mean, anything that's writing, anything that's graphic design, writing emails, graphic design, images. Um, you're going to be able to do full ads with it really soon, where it'll just do the whole ad for you. If you're looking at Flax, I think is the new one that's out there that's cool, and Sora's coming out, and you know, are we still recording?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just got a little flash there on the screen. Um, but yeah, start using these AI tools. I mean, they're unbelievable. They're my first stop now for everything. We went from SEO, trying to do it like, oh, we're going to have 8 great articles a month written for you, to, we have an SEO team that's putting out, 8 or 10 articles every day, maybe 20.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
well, they're using AI to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, the AI writes it, they proofread it, and they make sure it looks okay. So what we were going to get in a month, we're now getting in a day. And,
Right.
our rankings have been shooting up for the SEO because we've been doing it. If you're doing data collection stuff and data scraping, anything where you're grabbing data from the internet, use a tool like Phantom Buster. Um, you'll be able to go and get tons of things in seconds. You need those 10,000 records scraped off of there. It'll scrape them in seconds for you to
Wow.
be able to get that data. Um, you know, as far as, I mean, there's just so many use cases. We're going to take this podcast, we're going to stick it into an AI tool that they charge us $20 a month for, and we're going to break this into 30 or 40 different video segments that we can then put out on our social media, and the AI
There
is
you
going to
go.
summarize it and give us a headline for it to use, with the video. Um, Again, we're talking most of this things 10 or $20 a month,
Yeah.
and you can do the work of, this is something you'd be paying a freelancer $500 to do,
Yeah.
or
Easy.
$1,000 to do.
Easy. Yeah. Yeah.
you know
No,
but
great
now I can
advice.
do it with 5 different podcasts, for $20.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
there's just so many tools that can benefit you on there. If I have a question, I don't go to Google anymore. I go to ChatGPT.
There you
Like,
go.
that's my first stop. If I want to write something, I go to Claude. That's my first stop. um, you don't have all the answers, but they probably do. And it's going to start being able to code for you as well. So any
There
technical
you go.
problem, God forbid you have a technical problem, don't call tech support. Call ChatGPT. Call Claude. Like, they will know that answer faster than you could possibly get a technical support person for everything. You're having a problem with your printer. Ask them how to do it. You can't figure out how to find a document that you just downloaded. Ask it. Like, it will walk you through step by step, like you're a child, and you know anything technical. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
so useful.
Love it. Love it. Well, you heard it here, folks. Tom's
Use
saying it.
AI.
Use AI. Let's do it. It's there. It's available. Let's utilize it. Let's help save some time, save some money, save some energy. Remember, AI is a tool that we can use to help better our lives. So there's no reason not to take advantage of it. Love that. Great. Awesome. Well, Tom, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
let's do it.
We'd love to hear your story and what you're doing. I wish you the best of success continuing on and moving forward. But let's switch gears just a little bit and move into as it pertains to you continuing to become the leader that you want to be and building your team. What's something that you're dealing with real time right now that we can have a conversation about?
So, my biggest issue from a team building perspective is I basically have about 15 to 20 direct reports at the moment.
That's a lot.
It's a ton. Right? I don't have a real CMO. I have someone who's managing most of the coding activities for me, thank God, but I still have to get my hands dirty there. For any of this stuff, I mean, I have to be basically the head of marketing. I have to be basically the head of product. I have to, be the head of sales. I have to be so, I mean, I'm just involved in so many different things, and I'm spread so thin. um, I think I probably have an answer here for saying this out loud. That, hey, maybe you need to either promote some guys or hire some guys, but it's just I'm spread so thin right now. It's hard to focus on a different thing, and then one week it might be, hey, I really need to focus on this part of the product, or another time it might be I have to focus on the calls. The calls don't sound good right now. We for us, quality is going to be what differentiates us from
Right.
everyone else. We're providing a solution. We're not providing an API. Most of there's a lot of guys. I don't even call them competitors. They're not competitors, right? They're doing Twilio for the call. They're doing DeepGram for voice transcription, but they don't actually have a product that they can sell you. They have an
Gotcha.
API, and then you got to build it on your own. And if you
Right.
don't have a technical team, you have no chance.
Right.
I mean, just no chance to be able to do it. So, I don't think we really have many competitors out there at the moment, because no one is really offering a done for you solution like we're offering, which is fun.
Yeah.
That's
For
why we're
sure.
signing up Fortune 500s right now, right? That's why
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
talking to a bunch of Fortune 500s, because people want it built for them. They don't want to figure it
Right.
out. And it's more in depth than just adding an API, right? It's not
Yeah.
like for a phone call. Phone call connects. I don't really need to do much else. I click call and I'm good. Um, it's making it actually sound right, not pause in weird ways, have the voice sound good, understand what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it,
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Okay.
I'm
So,
spread super thin and, I'm trying to manage like 20 people.
right.
So,
So, couple thoughts come to my mind when I hear about this. Like you brought up, absolutely. If there's some key people in your existing team that you can say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna elevate you and have you become a supervisor, a leader of some kind, to help spread out this task of making sure that everybody's staying on task and getting their job done and kind of doing that. Absolutely, that would be fantastic. But how do you do that? How do you do that in an intentional way that works and is successful? Well, a couple of thoughts on that. So here at Elite Entrepreneurs, we have what we call the elite growth method, where we take your business and we kind of break it down and we say, okay, picture a mountain. The top of the mountain, that's your destination. That's where you want to get to. That's what you're working towards. Well, down the right side of the mountain, this is your daily operational stuff. And then down the left side of the mountain, this is your long term strategic. And how do you do all that? How do you balance all that? Especially in your circumstance where, hey, I'm kind of the top guru, I'm the boss, I'm the owner, and I've got 20 direct reports. So how do I manage the daily operational and the strategic and do all that? I need to keep on working on the business, but I still need to keep working in the business because I'm still trying to figure out to make sure that operations is moving and running. So we look at it and we have across the bottom a way to kind of keep everybody in balance, kind of keep that all scales, and we refer to it as meeting rhythms. And we say, okay, how do I function to make this all work? Well, first I got to intentionally decide, okay, how am I going to set time apart because I'm already spread way too thin to be intentional about working on the long-term strategic while also making sure that my daily operational needs are being met. And I've got 20 reports. I'm already stretched thin. So first, as you think of meeting rhythms, you think of, okay, a few key areas you want to focus on. Number one is, are you having a weekly meeting to talk about your operational needs currently?
yes.
And does that include all the team? So you and all 20 reports?
We have an engineering meeting. I
Okay,
meet
so
with
it
the
does get
engineering
broken up by
guys.
department.
Yeah, it's broken up by department.
Okay, perfect. That's even better because then you're more intentional about what that meeting's involving. Because a lot of times,
Otherwise, we're end up spending 2 hours in the meeting, and it's irrelevant to half the
yeah,
guys.
it's just going to be a circle of information that's not, you know,
Yeah, or
going to
maybe
get you.
3 hours in the meeting, and half of them are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs for the hour that we're spending, or the half
Absolutely.
hour spending on marketing or on SEO.
No, yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, so determining, okay, who needs to be in the meeting, what does the meeting need to accomplish, and then keeping on task to that end of, okay, I'm going to bring the engineering department. This is the top priority that we need to focus on. This and this meeting, the outcome of this meeting needs to be XYZ, right? Determining that ahead of time so that you understand how to stay on task and make that efficient as possible. Another thing that we talk about is doing weekly one-on-ones with each of your employees. Now, that's a very daunting task if you're on top and you've got 20 direct reports. So,
Correct. That's where I don't really have time
yeah.
to do it.
So
I
my
would love to. I just
yeah. So the way that we would talk through that is we say, okay, well then what you should be doing is you should be designating some kind of leader in each department. They don't have to be. They don't even have to have a title necessarily. They could just be the lead rather than like a manager or supervisor. It just depends on how you want to organize that. But you need to place them in a position where they're going to be who you're reporting to. So though each one person from each department, that's who reports directly to you. And then everybody in that department's going to report. to that individual. So then that way, now you've got this sequence set up in your organizational chart where everybody knows who they report to and how it functions. That's going to be huge for you, because then now you can just have a one-on-one with each of those leads of each of the departments. And in that one-on-one, you can see how they're doing. You can also see how their department's doing and how everybody in their department's going. Now, I did have the opportunity to work with a small business owner who was in a boat very similar to you, and she was trying to figure this out herself. Um, and what she ended up doing is she said, "Yeah, but I really like that FaceTime with each of my employees. I know I don't have the time, but if I'm going to say, hey, I'm just going to talk to these leads in each of these departments, how am I going to ever have that FaceTime with the individuals within that department?" So what she ended up doing is she said, okay, well, I'm gonna once a year at one of the quarterly, um, you know, time frames for these meetings. I'm gonna take the opportunity to meet with each of them. So now, instead of trying to meet with them on a weekly basis, I'm only meeting with them on an annual basis. So I meet
Yeah.
with each person on an annual. I'm still hearing about what's going on with them individually by talking to their lead.
Yeah, you could do monthly or quarterly. You could
Yeah,
set it
whatever
in.
whatever's convenient and works based on
Yeah.
whatever your schedule is, right? We always tell everybody, hey, you got to right size it to you. You know, we can tell you what's best practice, but at the end of the day, you've got to right size it to your business and what works best for you, because each business is unique and individual in the way that you want to choose to operate it and run it. So yeah, determining the time frame is what works best for you. But by doing that, that's going to give you the intentionality around, okay, everybody's going to have somebody to report to for two reasons. So we look at these one-on-ones and we say, hey, the two biggest reasons that we do one-on-ones is, one, so that people know that they're cared about and that they're heard as an individual. So when we look at a one-on-one, we say, hey, you just do it for like 30 minutes. The first 15 minutes of this one-on-one is all about getting to know this individual. I don't know what your hopes and dreams and aspirations are as an individual, whether it's here at work or at home. I want to hear it from you. Once you build that connection so that they know, hey, my company cares about me, my lead cares about me, this is awesome. Then the next 15 minutes of that meeting is, okay, now I'm going to hold you accountable. Let's talk about your performances as an employee. So we talk about it here to lead is your big three. What's the three most critical things needed for the success of this role that you're currently occupying? So we create these big threes for the position, not for the individual, and then the individual just has those big threes because that's the role that they're in right now. And we say, okay, how are you doing on your big threes? And we just have a 15-minute conversation, and eventually, ideally, they're coming to you and reporting back how they're doing. And then in this situation that we're kind of setting up here, as a lead, you would have that conversation with them. And then after that, you'd have another like 15 minutes. So theirs would be about 45 rather than a 30-minute. Because then you'd have 15 minutes to say, okay, now tell me, how are the people that were reporting to you doing? And then it gives them an opportunity to share with you what they're learning on their individual one-on-ones. But by breaking that up, we say max, you don't want to do more than about 5. I've seen some people do as much as 6, but usually 5's the best, because then that way you're not taking up all your time. Worst case scenario, you've got one a day, Monday through Friday, right? So you only want to have about 5 people that you're doing one-on-ones for, and where you're the owner at the top, all 5 of them are having 5 people reporting to them with these one-on-ones. And then that way, now you've quickly, on a weekly basis, you have this process in place where everybody's held accountable to make sure that they're doing the 3 most critical things needed in their role. And everybody in the company now feels cared about and heard on a personal level, because they're like, oh, wait, you want to know about me? My hopes and dreams? Oh, this is awesome. And you're creating a next level filter of decision making, because now you've had this opportunity for everybody to understand what's most important in their role, so they're not asking as many questions. You're going to stop the pendulum swing of your door of people asking questions of things that aren't like critical right now, because they know, oh well, I get to talk to my lead, I have a designated day and time that and space set aside for me to talk to them, so I can ask those questions there. So it's going to stop the constant random questions that come up all the time that need to be answered, but maybe they're not mission critical, so they can wait until that next meeting that's already scheduled. And then that saves a lot of interruptions, which I'm sure you're well aware. When we get interrupted constantly throughout the day, we get thrown off our groove, and productivity goes down.
Yeah, I had to silence my phone most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. So you're being intentional about setting aside a place and time for those conversations to be had, so that they're um, given, you know, the opportunity to express that, and it's in a time where it's not going to be inappropriate because it's interrupting something else that's maybe critical that needs to be happening right now. So those are the things that come to my mind when I first think about that can kind of help mitigate this idea, this daunting task of, oh, I got 20 people that report to me. Just be intentional about choosing some leads in each of the areas. Start maybe with doing one-on-ones with them at first until that feels comfortable and they understand how it goes, and then have them start doing it with the people under them.
No, I think that's great advice, John. I mean, because again, it's not you need some people. It's how do you manage it is the big thing. How do you go about managing it
Absolutely.
and having the leads talk to each of the people under them and having to filter up that way. Sounds very appropriate. And
Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
so
that
that's
that
pretty
about
good right there. And if you have a good CMO for me, I'll take one.
there you go. That's awesome. I think we all need a good CMO, right? I mean, let's be
Yeah, I
honest.
mean,
Um, Thank you so much again, Tom, for taking the time to be on with us today. One last thing before we wrap up. If people are interested in learning more about Bigly Sales, what's the best way for them to reach out and get a hold of you?
yeah, you can reach me at biglysales.com. Go to biglysales.com. We also have our new landing page builder with full identity management and capture of the leads for it to be legally compliant, all out of the box for you. Of course, using AI to build that. Then all the leads flow into Bigly, and we can have it automatically called or texted or whatever sequence is going to be best. To have that person scheduled or do a live transfer, have them buy something right then and there. So
Awesome.
check out biglysales.com. Check out biglypage.com, and if you're looking for a done for you solution and you have thousands of leads coming in every month, we're probably a great fit.
Fantastic. Love that. All right. So if you're interested, if that sounds like something that's going to help you, reach out to Tom. He and his team are ready to help you in any way that they can. Well, that concludes another podcast of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. We appreciate you watching this. If there's anybody out there that you feel could benefit from the things that were discussed here today, please, by all means, share the show with them. Let them hear it so that we can hopefully create some value for them, and they can continue to have the success that they want to have. Again, thank you, Tom. We appreciate you coming today, and that concludes today's podcast.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, John.
You bet. Our pleasure.